I moved into the apartment because it was cheap. Too cheap. The building was old, the kind of old that felt tired. Like it had memories it didn't want to share. My unit was on the 6th floor, room 6B. The hallway smelled like paint covering something worse. The landlord handed me the keys without meeting my eyes. He said, "You'll hear noises sometimes." Then he added, "Just don't open the vents." I thought he was joking. He wasn't. My first night was quiet, but around 2:14 a.m. something changed. I heard scratching inside the wall behind my bed. Slow at first, then frantic, like nails dragging across wood. I told myself it was just pipes, or maybe a rat, but the scratching wasn't random. It was rhythmic, patterned, almost deliberate. Then it stopped. For a moment, I thought it was over, but I heard something else. A low, breathing sound coming from the vent above my head. Deep, wet, too human to be an animal, too wrong to be a person. I froze, then I whispered, "Hello?" The breathing stopped, and whatever was inside the vent whispered back, "Hello." I didn't move, I couldn't. The word echoed through the vent, soft, mimicked, like something trying to copy a human voice. I backed away from the wall slowly. My heartbeat was so loud I thought it might drown out everything else. But the vent stayed silent, completely silent. I grabbed my phone. There was no signal, not even one bar. I held the phone toward the window. Still nothing. Then the scratching started again. Not behind my bed this time, but inside the vent. Closer, moving, like something crawling toward the opening. I stepped into the hallway. The lights flickered. Once, twice, then stabilized. Room 6A's door was cracked open. An elderly woman lived there. Ms. Harrington, quiet, polite, always carrying a rosary. I knocked lightly. "Ms. Harrington, are you awake?" She opened the door immediately. Her eyes were wide, like she'd been waiting. She whispered, "You heard it." I nodded. She motioned me inside. Her apartment looked nothing like mine. Every vent was sealed shut with thick plywood, hammered in with dozens of nails. Some were bent, some still had dried blood on them. I pointed at the boards. "What is that thing?" She clutched her rosary. "It's not a thing. It's a tenant." Her voice trembled. "It lives in the spaces between the rooms. It learns voices. It learns names. And once it chooses someone," she looked at me with pure fear, "it doesn't stop." A loud bang shook the wall behind us. Dust fell from the ceiling. Miss Harrington grabbed my arm. "Whatever you do," she whispered, "don't answer it again." Another bang, this time from inside my apartment, inside room 6B. Then I heard it call my name, perfectly, as if it were standing right behind my door. I froze in Ms. Harrington's doorway. My name echoed down the hall, soft, human-like, but not human enough. My stomach dropped. A voice shouldn't sound familiar and wrong at the same time, but this one did. "Cease." Harrington pulled me back inside. She shut the door, locked it, slid the deadbolt, then pushed a dresser against it with surprising strength. She whispered, "It already knows you." The banging from my room stopped. Silence fell over the hallway, too quickly, too completely. I checked the peephole. Nothing was there. But the light in the hallway flickered again. A long, slow flicker, like someone was walking beneath it. "Why hasn't the building dealt with this?" I asked quietly. Ms. Harrington shook her head. "They know. They always know. But they don't care who it chooses. Only that it stays inside the walls." Her breathing grew heavier. She pointed toward her bedroom. "You need to see something." I followed her. Her room was lined with newspaper clippings pinned to the wall. Old ones, yellowed, brittle, all with headlines about disappearances in the building. "Tenant vanishes from locked apartment, police find no signs of forced entry. Resident last heard talking to someone before going missing." I scanned them one by one. Every victim lived on the 6th floor. Every victim heard voices before they disappeared. My phone vibrated suddenly, a notification for a voicemail, but I hadn't made a call, and no one had called me. My hands shook as I played the message. First, static, then a low scrape. Then my own voice whispered through the speaker, "Let me in." I dropped the phone. Ms. Harrington stepped back like she'd seen a ghost. "It's copying you already." I swallowed hard. "What does it want?" She closed her eyes. To take your place. A loud metallic clang came from the vent above us. Slow, deliberate, like fingers tapping from the inside. Tap, tap, tap. Then the thing whispered my name again, this time from the vent directly above her bed. The vent rattled harder. Dust drifted down in thin gray flakes. The tapping inside grew faster, like impatient knuckles scraping metal. Ms. Harrington grabbed my arm. We have to move. She dragged me out of the bedroom. But as soon as we reached the hallway, the lights flickered again. Once, twice. Then the entire hallway went dark. A long, slow exhale, too close to my ear, shivered through the darkness. I froze in place. Ms. Harrington whispered, "Don't respond." The thing whispered my name again, almost gently, almost playful. Hard footsteps echoed from down the hall, but they weren't footsteps. They were too slow, too uneven, like something dragging its weight along the floor. Ms. Harrington pulled me toward the stairwell, but the dragging sound sped up behind us. Thick, heavy, wet. We bolted down the hall. I could hear it behind us, scraping against the walls as it followed. We reached the stairwell door. I grabbed the handle, pulled. Nothing. Jammed. Ms. Harrington hissed, "It's locking us in!" The door shuddered as she slammed her shoulder into it, still stuck. The scraping sound stopped. Silence rushed in like a wave. Which was worse, much worse. I felt hot breath at the back of my neck. Close. Too close. Something whispered, "I'm right here." Pure panic hit me. I kicked the stairwell door with everything I had. The old frame cracked, wood splintered, and the door flew open. We stumbled inside and slammed it shut behind us. Ms. Harrington locked the deadbolt with shaking hands. For a moment, everything was quiet. Nothing banged on the door. Nothing scraped. Nothing whispered. Then we heard it. From the walls of the stairwell, a deep, dragging movement traveling downward, following us, through the pipes, through the duns, through the hollow bones of the building. Ms. Harrington grabbed my hand. "We need to get to the boiler room." "Why the boiler room?" I asked. She looked me dead in the eyes. "That's where it came from." We hurried down the narrow concrete stairs. Every footstep echoed like a hollow drum. But beneath those echoes, the building made another sound. A slow, slithering vibration inside the walls. It was following. We reached the basement landing. The air was colder, damp, thick with the smell of rust and wet earth. Ms. Harrington pushed open the heavy metal door. A long, dim hallway stretched ahead. Pipes hissed overhead. Old bulbs buzzed, barely glowing. "This way," she whispered. I followed close behind as she guided us past storage rooms. Each door we passed had deep scratch marks near the bottom. 3 long grooves. Repeating. Over and over. I finally asked, "What is that thing?" She didn't answer right away. Her breath trembled. Then she said, "You won't believe me if I tell you. Try me. It was human once." My footsteps faltered. "What do you mean was?" She stopped in front of a rusted steel door. The sign above it read, "Boiler Room, authorized personnel only." Before she opened it, she finally continued. 5 years ago, a tenant vanished. A man named Daniel Graves. Quiet guy, strange habits. He always complained about things moving in his walls. She swallowed hard. When he disappeared, we tore apart his apartment looking for him. But we never checked the boiler tunnels. We should have. She grabbed the handle and yanked the door open. Heat rushed out. Steam curled into the hallway. The machinery inside hummed like a heartbeat. Harrington stepped inside. "We think the building took him and changed him." I stared at her. "That's impossible." A loud metallic clang slammed through the basement. The pipes rattled violently above our heads. Dust showered down. Then came the voice, muffled, warped, echoing through the vents. "Come back!" My blood turned ice cold. It was a man's voice, but stretched, broken, inhuman. Miss Harrington whispered, "He knows we're here." A heavy thud landed on the far end of the basement hallway. Then another, slow, approaching. She yanked me fully into the boiler room and slammed the door behind us. She locked every latch, every bolt. But the footsteps kept coming. Closer, closer, closer. The pipes above us began to groan. Then they bulged outward, as if something inside them was trying to push through. Ms. Harrington grabbed my shoulders. If it gets in here, we don't survive. I felt the entire room vibrate. The lights flickered. The metal door bowed inward with a deep, bending creak. The thing was right outside. The metal door bent inward again. A deep dent formed in the center, like something was pressing its forehead against it. Ms. Harrington backed away quickly. "Stay behind me," she whispered. The lights flickered once, twice, then steadied, barely. The boiler room hummed with hot machinery, but underneath that mechanical rumble, I could hear it. A scraping sound, slow, deliberate, like fingernails dragging across metal from the other side. Then a low voice seeped through the cracks. Long, stretched, wrong. "I remember you." My heart slammed against my ribs. "I've never met you," I whispered without thinking. "Yet I've..." Ms. Harrington grabbed my arm hard. "Don't answer it." But it was too late. The scraping stopped. Silence filled the room. A heavy, waiting silence. Then the pipes overhead began to tremble. Softly at first, then violently. Something was moving through them. Fast. The metal groaned, bolts rattled, steam hissed out in white jets. Ms. Harrington pulled me toward the back of the boiler room. "There's another exit," she said, "a maintenance hatch, but it's a crawl space." Another loud impact hit the door, this one harder than the last. The hinges shook. Dust rained down in thick clouds. I could hear breathing now. Heavy, wet, labored. Right outside the door, Miss Harrington shoved aside a stack of old toolboxes and revealed a square metal hatch in the floor. Rusty, barely big enough for a grown adult. She got down on one knee. "Help me pry it open." We worked together, pulling until the ancient metal squealed and finally popped open. A rush of cold air blasted upward. It smelled like dirt and mold and something dead. Another impact slammed the door. This time the top hinge snapped and shot across the room like a bullet. It clattered against the wall behind us. "He's breaking through," I yelled. "Bisamo." Harrington pushed the hatch fully open. "You first," she said, no arguing. I didn't have time to object. The door was bending inward like soft clay now. Cracks spidered across the metal. I dropped down into the darkness. My feet hit the cold mud floor. The space was tight, claustrophobic, barely enough room to crouch. Miss Harrington climbed in after me and pulled the hatch closed just as the boiler room door finally gave way. Right above us, I heard it enter. Slow, deliberate, dragging something heavy. Then came the breathing, directly over the hatch, sniffing, searching. Miss Harrington whispered so softly I barely heard her. "Don't move. Don't breathe." The creature made a soft, clicking sound, then another, like bones tapping together. Shadows shifted through the thin cracks around the hatch. It was right above us, listening. I clamped my hand over my mouth. My pulse felt loud enough to give me away. Then, the creature scraped its claws across the hatch, slowly, as if testing its strength. A single metal flake drifted down past my face. Ms. Harrington squeezed my arm. If the hatch failed, there was nowhere left to run. I froze as the creature leaped toward me. I fired the rifle. The kick of the gun knocked the wind out of me. The echo bounced through the cabin. It jerked sideways but didn't fall. Its scream was wet and broken, like metal scraping in a throat full of water. I pumped the bolt and fired again. Black fluid splattered across the wall. It staggered, but it wasn't done. Its arm reached toward me, bending in ways that shouldn't be possible. I stumbled backward, almost tripping over a chair. I had to think fast. I noticed the loose floorboard near the kitchen. I grabbed a glass jar from the table. My hands shook as I aimed. I threw it onto the board. The jar smashed. The board cracked upward with a loud snap. The creature shrieked. I sprinted toward the rifle again. It spun back toward me, its jaw opened impossibly wide. Its eyes, empty, twisted, locked on me. I gripped the rifle tight and prayed. I heard the creature lunging at Gwen. I fired. The shot tore through its shoulder. It screeched. I stumbled backward, adrenaline making my limbs feel heavy and light at the same time. It lunged again. I dove behind the overturned couch. The claws ripped into the cushion above me. I rolled out and ran for the door. It charged. I yanked the doorknob. Stuck. The creature was almost on me. I slammed my shoulder into the door. It finally burst open. I fell into the storm outside. The rain hit me like icy needles. I didn't stop running. Behind me, it roared. Branches cracked under its weight. Lightning flashed. I saw it clearly for a moment. It paused at the window. Something outside watched us. And then the forest swallowed it again. I ran blindly through the mud. Rain soaked me instantly. I could barely see the trail ahead. I could hear it behind me. Its low, guttural scream mixed with the cracking branches. I stumbled into an abandoned hunting trail. A rusted shed appeared ahead. I ran toward it, praying it would hold. The creature followed, faster than I could believe. I shoved the door open. Inside, it smelled of mold and rot. I slammed it shut behind me, locked it with a rusty padlock. Its roars shook the walls. I pressed my back against the far corner. I could hear it moving outside, listening, testing the weak points. Then I noticed a narrow crawl space. It was barely big enough to fit through. I had no choice. If I stayed, it would kill me. I dropped to my hands and knees, slid inside. The smell of damp earth enveloped me. The darkness swallowed me whole. Behind me, the creature's roars echoed. The forest fell silent. I stayed pressed against the crawl space wall. My chest heaved. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely move. The creature's breathing echoed above me. Wet, labored, hungry. I could feel every thump of its weight on the shed floor, every scrape of its claws, every snap of broken branches outside. I crawled forward slowly. The crawl space narrowed. My knees scraped against rough dirt. The darkness swallowed me. A flash of lightning illuminated the opening behind me. I saw it clearly. Its black, twisted form loomed there. It tilted its head, like it knew exactly where I was. I froze. It hissed something I could almost understand. A whisper of my own name. My blood ran cold. I kept moving, slow, careful. Every sound I made might betray me. The crawl space twisted deeper into the forest floor. Roots and mud clawed at me. I slipped, caught myself before falling completely. I heard it behind me again. Closer this time, dragging, scraping, almost impatient. I didn't dare turn my head. I couldn't, but I could hear its breath, smelling of diki and wet iron. Then the crawl space widened slightly. I saw moonlight through the trees, the forest floor. Freedom. I scrambled out. My legs were numb, my lungs burned. I didn't stop. I ran, through mud, over roots, past fallen branches. The creature didn't chase me further. Not immediately. I could hear its low growl fading behind me, but I knew it wasn't gone. It would wait, it would watch, it would learn. I didn't look back. Not once. By dawn, I reached the main road. A car passed. I waved frantically. The driver slowed, looked at me, and sped away. I was alive, but I knew I'd never be safe again. The thing in the walls was still there, somewhere, waiting for the next time it wanted a voice to mimic, waiting for the next victim. And I would never forget it. If this story kept you watching, there's another real horror waiting for you. Click on the screen and don't watch it alone.